You're on the record.
I would like to call the November 19, 2024 Beautification Commission regular meeting to order. If you are able, please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. May I have the roll call, please?
Dothett,
Here.
Warner, Hale,
Here.
Wilson, Ersley, Hoffert,
Present.
Springer,
Here.
Student Representative Thompson. You have a quorum.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I make a motion to approve the agenda. Second.
Any revisions to the agenda? Any objections to approving the agenda as presented? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. We do not have any scheduled comments. Are there any members from the public who wish to speak on any item not appearing on the agenda? Okay. Are there any remote attendees that would like to speak?
There's nobody online tonight.
Okay. Rolling right along, may I have a motion to approve the May 14th, 2024 minutes?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any objections to approving the minutes? Hearing no objections, the minutes are approved. We have no unfinished business. For new business, I'd like to call for a staff report.
Be patient as I'm taking notes and presenting tonight. Or sorry, I asked for your patience. That was very demanding. Be patient. So please be patient. All right, back on the work plan. So I've attached the goals that was submitted and everything that was approved by council to go through. So now the process here, which I believe the clerk added a page, or I added a page that the clerk gave me at the end. It's kind of what to do. Now, there's not a template for this report. So the idea and what code has said is every commission will come up with a work plan in the beginning of the year. It was a new year. I think the Parks Commission was the first and Beautification was a short second, I think, to get through this process. So we were kind of learning the procedure to get the work plan out there. And then someone from the commission needs to write a report on how were the goals achieved. With the Parks Commission, someone volunteered to write it. And I did it very similar to how the work plan was originally scheduled. I'm going to meet with the park commissioner and just kind of go through it. While it's not my work plan, but I just want to, give that one-on-one advice without doing it in a work session. That seemed to work really well for developing the work goals. And one person gathered all the notes. We got together and we were able to get the goals. I think that was a really effective way to get it and make it successful. So with that in the packet, I attached the Beautification Commission's work goals. So it'd just be someone would write a report and then that would get submitted to council. And then they would be like, yay, we're done. And then come January, we'd start working on the work goals again. And again, work goals can be the same every year. Like the tour can be a repetitive work goal. I think that was a big goal of mine, even though it's not my work goal, is to find a couple core elements that will help me identify, hey, we're going to do a work session in August or September about a beautification tour. Any questions? So what, sorry, I have to take notes on what I'm saying too.
So one of us is going to clarify, one of us is going to volunteer to write a report on these 4 items that were in our work plan, and what, if any, progress was made on those 4 items?
Yes.
Great. And are we going to have an opportunity to discuss that tonight? Or is
Yeah.
that just time right now?
Yeah, so this isn't anything to vote on. It can actually be commission
but just-
discussion right now, yeah. If you guys
Okay.
want to discuss it or have any questions on it or have any things you guys want to go through.
So
So,
the Green Strip Pavilion was, the building was painted, the colors that we chose, correct?
oh yeah, that was actually really, I remember that, that was a very, that
It
was
was
a
an
fun meeting.
exciting day, yes. So we chose the paint colors. I don't remember who all was here at that time, not you, Sam, yet. But yeah, we went outside, we looked at them in the glorious daylight, picked some colors, and then they painted the building, which was peeling and looked terrible. So that's great progress on this object number 4. And then object number 3, there was quite a bit of discussion and some planning, right, Tyler, on the fountain?
I guess that is objective number 4 is the pavilion. Sorry, I'm also taking notes.
Yep,
so.
you're good.
But no, I didn't even think about that. So I'll give one example where whoever writes this report, again, happily to meet with them. I don't have to. But I think that's a great point. It's like, we picked those colors and then we'll always kind of keep our ear to the ground for those mural opportunities and everything there. But I think that'd be one way to say like, oh yeah, we as a body, administration came forward and presented several colors to be the brown and green, which is a standard thing to do in a Parks and Rec world. And we picked brown velvet and perennial green. I believe those were the ones, but they are tacked up in my office currently, and we've used that paint quite a bit, and it's been really, really nice. So yeah, review, sorry, Sarah, you can, or Chair Dothit, I apologize. You can continue going through the work goals if you want though, but yeah, work goals there.
Just my question was, exactly what we did on the fountain. I remember that we were talking to a designer or something.
So yeah, there was a special project / capital improvement that like floated around. Yeah, no, my bad. There was a special project approved for a design to redo the fountain, and no one wanted to take that project. But in that exploration of that, there was the idea from administration to just exploring the option, because the money went away on July 1st. It was when we went to the new fiscal year. It did not go away. The money was reallocated in the general fund. So it's still, the city still has the money. And one of the reasons for that in a special project, it is laid out, this is for design. I can't just go, oh, you know what? We're going to just add, like, I think the proposal we were thinking about is simplifying it. Pulling out the wood, maybe redoing some of the wood, and then acid washing it and refinishing it and giving it a nice, really nice sheen is something we're exploring as a new special project. But that special project was approved in the budget as a design, not an actual project. So the right way to go about that was to wait till the money got appropriated by the general fund. And then when I resubmit special projects, I'll probably submit a project for doing like an acid wash and like a finish on that fountain. Because it is a big block of concrete. If we're gonna chisel it out, it's gonna be expensive. We're gonna replace everything, but it is a pretty solid piece of concrete and a pretty simple design. And I think doing something along this lines could look really well. And then to tack onto that, depending on how this churns out, I think this could be a really cool way to make our planters look a lot nicer too, because those are also big circles of concrete. So if we add some acid wash them and add a nice finish, it's gonna add a really nice, I think it's gonna make it look like a higher quality product. That's where we landed on that.
So under funding for next year's annual work plan, there is no funding currently in place for the fountain,
No.
correct? Okay.
Okay.
Does anybody have the desire to volunteer to write the report or work with Tyler?
Normally I would, but since I wasn't part of the 2024, I don't feel comfortable doing it, but I would be comfortable doing it for the next
Okay.
year.
I think I can do it this year. Tyler, you and I worked on this plan initially, so I think it'd be pretty simple for me to write a report real quick and then just run it by you.
Yep. And then the only thing I don't actually know, I'll have to check in with the clerk. I think it's okay if you guys just have it and we send it to council, but there may be at our next meeting, we might, I don't think it has to be voted on or anything like that. I think it can just go forth with council through this discussion, so.
I do have one question. When is the 2025 work plan developed? Or is that already?
So that'll start at our, who has a meeting calendar? When's our first meeting in the year?
It's like January. January 14, it looks like. Yeah, we're orange. Yeah, January 14.
January 14th. Yep, second Tuesday. Oh, that's as late as it can actually be. Yeah, so on the 14th, we'll start going into that. So we'll probably either, one, if we don't have anything to vote on, that could become a work session where we would develop the plan. But I think it worked really well having a discussion with the commission and what they want to see, and then meeting with that chair or elected person. I think that helped, because it was just, we got out of the formal process, but we still respected it, because then we came back to the commission, went through the work plan, made edits, and then voted on it. But I think it got through some of the nitty gritty and probably saved several hours of time in a meeting.
Thank you.
So we have a meeting in January and then not again until April.
Yep.
For that, like if we did a work session only in January, we'd have a good 3 months before we met again.
Yes. But I think with everyone's work plans, and like, if we're gonna do some repeats, and I'm at that meeting, there's no means to saying like, again, what this work plan really helps me with is what to put into a packet, what to plan. So like, one of our discussions tonight is our beautification tour in the winter. That was in the work goals. So this signals for me to be like, oh, and this time I need to prepare for this. So even if we just get rough ideas in January, I think I'll be able to do what the body would want going forward with that.
Any other questions on the work plan before we move on?
I really like the layout, so whoever drafted this up did a very good job.
Sure. And then just to do a quick, I don't know if we went over it, an objective 2, that's going to be TBD on that. We're going to vote on when to do that tour. And then on objective 1, Parks and Garden tour, we did that in August or September, one of those months. Yeah, if it was it in August? It was, you were doing a play.
Yes, it was August.
Okay.
And Brittany took some pictures, so maybe I'll get some of those pictures from you too.
Oh my gosh, one of those pictures. I will show it. Yes, I would think I would showing Forget-Me-Not flowers for Councilmember Askin, which I have a tattoo of. And Brittany took a picture of me doing this, like I was flexing for the
Tyler's
commission.
flexing in front of the ladies. Look at these flowers
Yeah,
over there.
It really cracked me up. But no, so yeah, objective 1, I think is a really easy one to report on. Yes, we did our tour, and I think working with Chair Dothit, that's a really good objective, because I think that's a repeat objective that we're gonna do every year, and that's a good thing to go forward with. Sorry, just give me 1 second. Completed.
We did the planting day too.
Yeah, it's not really an objective, is it?
No, but I think it could be a goal of the bodies to be like, hey, we want to make sure. Now,
Pictures.
if that has to become an official work session or something, which I don't think would be but I don't think it would be because everyone just, but I think for the body to help out on that and make that as a work goal, I would maybe run that by the clerk, but that could be a pretty successful objective. Because I think that is a repeat thing, and that is a cool thing to go forward with. And we had a blast last year. Because we made a little sign out front, and that was really fun. Jenna did a really good job with that on making it, like, we had like a really good show up area, like, hey, show up here.
I think if the fire trucks drove us to the various planters, that would be a great goal.
Probably get a lot more volunteers that way, like fire truck rides. You just have to plant flowers at the end.
Speaking of flowers, I see pretty pictures in my packet.
Lots of pink. But, sorry, do you have a line? Yes. No, wait. So you're calling for a staff report?
That was what that meant.
Okay. No, so I kind of just made this simple and easy. Again, I think some of the things I've heard during the tour is like, can we do different colors in different areas? And I know during the tour, I think that was one thing Chair Dothett said, like, in front of the Leaf Hansen bed, was just like, oh, could we do some different tours? So as I was building out this with, like, I'll say Randy Dodge, he's probably one of our biggest guys who does the flowers. We did realize we had a lot of different pink varieties. So I think there's options in there, but there's also the scare of, one of the things I didn't bring in the Griffin Park catalog, because the one year we tried to redo our flower scheme for red, white, and blue, our hardiest flower to that cold climate that we picked was the blue. Like, everything on the paper said it was gonna kick butt, and it was by far our worst flower. So I wasn't sure, I know Chair Dothett has mentioned, like, it would be cool to see a better variety of flowers. And one thing we talked about was trying some different stuff in maybe 2 of the circle planters and seeing how well those went and everything there. But I didn't know if there was any specific colors or specific flowers the body likes. I wanted to kind of leave it open, and then we'll kind of go through, because one thing Randy has is an immense knowledge of being here for 10 years, and he has seen some flowers, like, I think the example I always give is some of these super tunias, but like the slightly, like the yellow ones for some reason don't like this same flower, different color, don't work in Kenai. So Randy does have a vast amount of experience in what doesn't work, but if there were any color schemes or any suggestions, we could look at them and see if they haven't succeeded, we'd happily try them out.
I think a couple ladies, when we were doing that walkthrough, like the orange colors, and I don't know if that was one that thrived in the summer. I know Sonia was really for the orange, and I also was too. And I think in front of the visitor center, there was a lot of orange that was just really poppin'. So orange was one of those that we really liked.
Okay.
And I wanted to say too, the amount of compliments we got on the visitor center flowers was, it was daily. Like, multiple people a day came in and were very impressed with the foliage outside. They really liked the kale.
Yeah, the kale's been debated quite a bit, but it's not a bad feeler.
Tons of compliments on it, like a ridiculous amount, actually, over and over. It was a lot.
Yeah, the only negative I think with the kale is if you have a really rainy year, the kale does great. And it like it just gets bigger than everything else, and you're like, there's some giant pieces of kale. But
I personally don't love the striped ones.
the Picasso Super Tunia?
They're on page 14, the bottom two. I personally don't love them. I'd love to know what everybody else thinks, but they're just not my favorites. There is a purple variety that I grew in my garden last year that did really well. It is purple, but it's white speckled, called Night Sky. Stargazers, maybe. I got so many compliments on those, and the greenhouses were kind of really growing them too, and I think they did really well. So to add some different patterns, something like that might be nice. You could talk to Randy and see.
No, that's fine. That's great. These aren't my
Did you-
favorite.
Did you already order these, or?
No.
No, okay.
No, they are my favorite.
I also don't like the striped ones.
So maybe.
No, that makes sense. No, I'm sorry, but this is why,
This is why we're doing it, yeah.
This is the meeting, though. So,
And then-
like, following that note, like, I took down night sky, and I did do, like, a speckled variety, maybe. Like, maybe that's something we can look up to do a mix-up, too.
Yeah, and maybe, maybe an orange or a yellow variety, if Randy can, is familiar with any that have done well. Even if, like, there's some that are pink and yellow or pink and orange, like, even if you bring in another color too, but maybe one more brighter color. Anybody else have any other thoughts?
Yeah, the Picasso one is really interesting. If there was something with a different variety of those colors, the way that the outline is on those, I think that really does make a nice pop on things, but I don't know if that comes in any other colors beside that.
There's always several different varieties. So, and again, there's so many different flowers. These supertunias do seem to be a really thriving one that seem to do well. And there is a large variety. But yeah, I put down purple, white speckled, but also different colors on, like, I used these two as an example, but then with a different pattern. Not the stripes.
Yeah, there's another striped one on page 17.
That one I don't mind as much because look at, you can see the hearts.
I was gonna say that, like the hearts on it.
Oh, and I do want to know, I think we technically had a different rudbeckia in, because we had a mishap with flowering, ordering, and a local greenhouse ended up getting a different version of that, but that's one of the flowers that will come in late and be there more in the fall.
Otherwise, I really like all of these. These look really, oh yeah, I had some of those last year too. Those are so pretty. These are all really nice.
Well, and I'll say again, I think my long-term goal, and I could be wrong with this, but I would love to find, like I said, experiment with some other flowers, because this scheme we have is pretty tried and true. But I would love to find like a rotating year where we could do something every other year, or like, odd years we're gonna do this and even years we're gonna do that. But when we went big with red, white, and blue several years ago, it did not go well. Minus the red and the white, they did great, which are Kenai colors, so that, yeah. So red, white, and kale, we had in a lot of planners. But that is, I think it would be really cool to have that mix up, because I think people do notice that, and they get used to it, and then they're like, oh, why is that so vibrant and orange and not striped? But I think there's a really cool possibility of exploring some of these options and seeing what we get in a couple of the planters and what an arrangement could be. And I'd be excited to showcase that, or I'm sure one of you may be like, I want to plant that bed with the new flowers, because then you get to see them in there.
Any other discussion on the flowers? No? Do we want to talk about the winter tour, or did you have anything else on the flowers?
Nope, we can go in the winter tour.
Perfect. Okay.
Pull out this thing just to make sure, so we don't conflict. And was that my call for staff report? You guys wanted to do a winter tour. Almost all of our lights are up. I am sure Commissioner Springer has noticed lights going up, minus a big one on the side of the building. We love doing it. I think tomorrow we're gonna try to finish up Leaf Hansen. We restrung a lot of trees in Leaf Hansen, and then there was a windstorm. It's those fun things, but like the town tree that's in there, the top part of it is all lopsided now. So before it snows too much, I think we're gonna try to save that one for this winter, but We also have to get a bucket truck in there. It was on the side of the chamber today and it made it, so. So all of our lights will be up by Christmas Comes to Kenai, which if everyone didn't know is the day after Thanksgiving. There's a parade and a really fun light show. But that is any day after that, we could find a tour. I think we wouldn't want to conflict with like a council meeting or any huge things in December. This is the
Question.
2025 meeting calendar. Do you guys have is there an old one up there?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
I have a question. Do you remember when I was talking about stringing the lights in Leif Hansen? How you guys had previously just sort of draped them around the branches? Do you remember that, when we were talking about that?
I remember that lightly, yeah.
And I was hoping that you guys were gonna string them around the base of the tree and more like a few branches instead of just draping them around, and I haven't had a chance to look to see how they got draped.
We did not get the base of the one tree you were talking about though, but some of that could be just due to weather and lack of staff. But it was one thing, that tree was also strung very poorly.
Okay.
But that also got blown down after we did it.
Did you do any of the others at the bases, or you just
We
drape
do some of
them around?
the non-spruce trees. We'll start.
That's mostly what I'm-
Well, yeah, and the birches, we'll do the bases, and then we'll try to drape around the branches that after the leaves fall.
Okay. I was hoping that it was going to be more like what they do at the hospital, where you drape around the base of the tree and then you just go up and down a few branches so that it looks more like just a few branches versus a wide, awkward circle around the trees.
And maybe that's something we should go look at I get pointed out during the winter
Okay.
tour, and I think we'll get good feedback on that.
Okay, perfect. December for, like, if we were gonna do it on a Tuesday, like our normal day, there's nothing on the calendar for December on a Tuesday for any other commissions.
And then so what we'd be looking at is,
Possibly the 10th or the 17th,
okay,
or the 3rd even.
I'm just gonna check something really quick.
I'm not available on the 10th.
I'm not available in December, unfortunately.
I'm also not available on the 17th, apparently. I'm glad I checked myself. So.
I'm free on the 3rd.
I would propose the 3rd. What about you?
Well, yeah, I was gonna
Tyler?
say, AML is on between the 9th and the 13th, it looks, this year. So that could be conflicting, and
Yeah.
for me as well.
So maybe the 3rd.
I think that should give us enough notice time for a work session.
Take
Because-
pictures for me.
All right, so possible winter tour dates, we're looking at December 3rd.
Yeah, I think that we're in agreement on that.
Maybe if we like alter the time on the 3rd? Just can't do the 3rd at all.
I'm unavailable from the 3rd until the 20th.
Oh, okay, all of December, okay.
5 a.m.?
That would be the only time I would be available on the 3rd.
So that's the only thing, it has to be when the street lights are on, because that's when we get all the, like, I don't know if you guys have seen them, but all of our street light decor has been going up. And it makes me happy, but.
Honestly, if it was something in the early morning, I could do something before 9 a.m. on the 3rd, but that is literally the only time.
Okay. No, not on that. That was just a discussion. On the next item, because I think yeah.
Are we still doing new business? Are we moving on?
What?
Yeah, I think we're still
Okay.
doing that. He's gonna talk about capital improvements.
But I need a motion, I believe. Or through the chair, you need a motion.
I just had a question before we moved on to new business, so before we move on, I have a question.
A question about this, or? So we can't bring up new business without it being notified in the packet. But if you had a question about it at the end of the meeting, when we do commissioner comments and questions, maybe a good time to ask about it. And you could also ask about that process, if that was something you'd want to do as well. Okay, yeah, no, oh, yeah, I was gonna say, so yeah, at the end, so save it, make sure you have it written down. Okay, and then we can do that after, when we do commissioner comments and questions.
May I have a motion to recommend council approval of the Parks and Recreation Capital Improvement Plan priority list?
I make a motion to approve the capital. Is that?
Second?
Tyler, do you have a report on this?
Capital improvement plans, they are projects that usually exceed $35,000. Departments submit them in October and November to the Public Works Department, and then they put together a 5-year living plan. And then council will vote on it usually in December, I believe, where they will approve the plan and it will get incorporated into the budget. It's a living document, so things shuffle. Sometimes things get moved around. That's one thing. And sometimes even after every commission will vote on this, even after it will go through, sometimes administration will move some pieces of the puzzle around so it all fits, because there's only so much money in 2026 and 2027. So if a couple pieces need to get moved around so it all fits and can be well funded, administration will do that and be like, hey, we made a couple tweaks, but this is pretty close to what the commission's wanted. The one example is a current plan administration is working on. I am currently working on the Parks and Rec master plan. Funding was approved this year. We have $70,000 to do a master plan. I am working on that RFP with our Public Works Department right now, so that'll probably go out soon for bid. But that's just an example of a plan. And then one thing I think the Beautification Commission, formerly Beautification Committee, have talked about is what would be something in the realm of beautification on this. I'm not saying we have to try to put this in tonight, because it's usually these things get added in October, but something I would really like the commission to pay attention to as we're going through our tour. All those light poles on the decoration are old. We've repainted the garland on them many times. Some of them, we restrung a couple lights and they looked rough, and when we plugged them in though, they looked great because the lights were really bright. But every one of those light poles, like the poinsettias we have, a single is about $1,000, a double is about $2,000. We have about 40 of those. So replacing just all the poinsettias is a pretty big ask. Now, I can include it in the budget to add a new poinsettia every year and just buy one every year and buy one every year. But I think at the end of the day, it's still going to cost the city the same amount of money. But I'm not trying to speak for anyone's opinion. But if that was a project where beautification was like, we want all new, all new static displays. Or I think as a kid, I remember when I was like 8, I'm going to, please no one get mad at me for saying this. I lived in the city of Soldotna. But I remember when they changed up the design and I was like, what? There's Santa riding a salmon. It's still there. That was like 25 years ago, I think. But I remember being stoked that there was something I was like, whoa. And it was cool to see. And not that we have to get rid of our poinsettias or anything like that, but I know we've talked about our static displays. There used to be a Santa that kind of finally probably met its useful life that was on the side of the chamber. But I'll say right now, a nativity scene that's 20 feet long is $15,000. So it is a significant thing. So if it's something where the Beautification Commission during our tour was that would be cool to do a whole new light decor. We did all new banners several years ago. That would be a capital project, being we want to do everything new. We want a French horn, a poinsettia. Our staff was joking about this, but we might experiment, because we always find a couple broken dip nets. and someone donated 3 metal fish that have rope lights that are not commercial grade. But we're like, what if we did a net light and we tried to make a dip net decoration with a fish in it? But that'd be very custom. I don't think we could do that on a grand scale. But no, there's ideas where we could redo all the street lights and it could add a really fun pop in our town, or all new static displays. Or maybe it's like, hey, you know what? We got Leaf Hansen covered. Let's do Blue Star Memorial. Let's get crazier at the Chamber Center, or do something bigger there. So this was just that, I threw that in the memo just because I think it's something we've talked about, and I know Beautification has been like, we don't have like a lot of skin in the game in the capital improvement plan. And this was something that was big to me because it's a huge part of my staff's yearly thing. Like, that we are putting up lights for a month to 2 months. We start doing it and they do it and it makes the town look great. And there's just 3 of them. Last year we were doing it in the final hour because it was windy for 2 weeks and we can't put up the street things. And so we were grinding it out to get the lights up in time. And it's something my staff takes a lot of pride in and they really enjoy doing, but that's a huge part of the Parks and Rec Department's winter, is setting up all the lights. And as it's snowing, trying to get the trails cleared and everything like that. So I think that is something that'd be really significant for us to look at.
I have a question. Do the poinsettias light up? Or are they just,
So I was going with the light ones, not the banners. Because there's
Right.
the banners.
the light ones? They
Yes.
light up?
Yeah, when the street lights come on.
Are they all currently working?
I believe the majority of them are, yes. Because we usually test them because it's very hard to repair the lights when we're out there.
Somebody mentioned they weren't working, but it could be because the light wasn't on yet or something. So, but I haven't driven around to double check this information.
Yeah, I know we had a seasonal staff member checking all the lights, and I know they did miss a couple, but like I said, we had a couple that were, 3 that were half working, and we replaced the bulbs on them before we brought them out, because it's a lot easier to do when we're out and about. And then again, there's lights we do up on the Spur, and then on Willow, and then on Airport Way. And I'm not saying we have to add something in this plan right now, because it may be too late on that point, but I did say I'd go out and seek out quotes. And I just worked with a vendor who provided us some rough numbers on a couple of their things, and I wanted to provide that for the commission before we did the winter tour. Just to be like, you know what, no, these do look good. You know, some static displays maybe here would look really nice, and I think that could be a really cool project for the Beautification Commission to work on. Any questions?
Did the teddy bear go to die, or is it being put up in the park?
I don't know. I think the biggest one we retired this last year was a Santa that was pretty worn, that was on the side of the chamber building.
Hopefully the teddy bear looks sad enough to be retired.
We have a fireman and a police guy in front of the police department and the fire.
I have a dinosaur you can borrow.
She's spoiled. What about non-lit up additions that maybe won't be such a high price tag, like big red ribbons or anything else that is there anything else you've seen or could think of that wouldn't come with such a big price tag, but would add something new that people haven't seen every year? And I don't mean today, right now, but I mean for
No.
next year. I wonder if there's other things that we could also add in, like big red ribbons or candy cane ribbon or something like that. I don't know, something that doesn't come that quite high of a price tag.
No, not something I've fully explored. I was just kind of looking at what we had and what it would look like to revamp that. And there could be some options there.
Did the commission have any other discussion on this? No? Okay. So I think we're ready to call a vote on the main motion, which is to recommend that council approve the Parks and Rec Capital Improvement Plan. Is that correct, Tyler?
Yes, because sounds like we had discussion on it. There's no, oh, I guess also, sorry, let me actually present it as it's in the packet all the way. So you guys can see this is basically the priority list right now. There's a tractor replacement on there, a pavilion replacement at Beaver Creek. There's an Old Town playground equipment, basically overhaul of Old Town Park in there for this next fiscal year. And then the next year, there'd be a drop curtain for the Kenai Rec Center. That's the only new addition into the plan. And then there is a multipurpose facility roof redesign, and then relocation of Parks and Rec to Dobbin Spec. And if you look in the actual plan, that is majority grant funded. In the actual CIP plan, there's a breakdown of where the funding comes from the general fund, from grant funding. And then there could be changes. I think there could be significant changes in this as we do develop our Parks and Recreation Master Plan. It was another reason why I added it in there. That'll be a huge guiding document. But I know with like the relocation of the Parks and Rec, Dobbin Spec thing was because we pay the airport to rent our land, and they've moved other shops, and there could be, this is from the former Public Works Director, potentials for grants of getting that soil cleaned up and helping out and moving it. But as we develop our master plan and work with, we have a whole new Public Works team right now. We have a new Public Works Director. We have a new Assistant Public Works Director. So just going forward, we'll see how that matches up with everything. But I think that master plan is going to be a huge guiding document. And the one thing I'm really excited about that is yourselves as community members will get a chance. There'll hopefully be multiple meetings where we can get community feedback and ask the community like what they want to see out in the city of Kenai from the Parks and Recreation Department.
I have a question.
Yes.
The Old Town playground equipment for 1.6 has there been any discussion about, when we toured, oh gosh, the name is escaping me, the park where the animals are falling apart? Where they just put in the new seesaw?
Yes.
Has there been any discussion about funding for that if we're putting that much money into Old Town?
No, because that, minus those animals that were not commercial built, I will say. But the playground equipment itself is still within its useful life. And I think it got installed, I want to say 2010, but give or take, if you don't quote me on that number. But the other playground equipment is a hodgepodge of equipment that was all installed in the 90s or earlier. So that whole playground was just kind of beyond its useful life. And it was kind of looking at, we got together a couple different community groups and the Kenaitze Indian Tribe and the Salamadoff Indian Tribe and looked at what would it look like if, from the park's point of view, we came at it, what if we had one fully accessible playground? Like with paved pathways, fully accessible play equipment, potentially a Native Youth Olympic Accord, partnering with the Kenaitze and the Salamadoff with how much they're doing in the Old Town area right now. So since that playground equipment is still within its useful life, we weren't looking at adding like more to that or totally revamping that.
Okay, thank you.
That was very long-winded, I apologize.
And there's some funding that's coming into play for that one too, from the other sides as well, right, or no?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons we met with the Kenai Fine Arts Center, the Salamadoff and the Kenaitze Tribe, and just kind of looked at what we wanted, and then we spent some money on what it would cost to completely redo a park. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't think we'll be able to find $1.6 million in the general fund this year, but it got moved to the next year. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened again. I do not speak for council, so unless someone throws out, hey, we got $1 million in funding, there's that opportunity. But we got a really good schematic design for what it would cost to completely revamp that park, because that park kind of got pieced together if you look at it. And it served a much higher community when we don't have a metric, we don't have geo-tracking data, but just by going there and seeing all the multifamily homes around that park, it was just getting very high usage, and the playground equipment is very old.
Question, are we gonna have a say in the design of that playground next year? Will that be up for discussion?
No, so there's already a design that is out there, like a 35% schematic design. Oh, wait. Oh. We should probably do a at ease. Yeah,
Can we just take a short recess, please?
yeah, let's do that. Sarah, can you call for like a 5-minute at ease, just so I know I can tell.
Can we have a 5-minute at ease, please? Okay, we're back. So I think we're ready to go ahead and vote on our motion to recommend that council approve the Parks and Recreation Capital Improvement Plan. We have a call for voting, or
I move to,
we're just voting, call for
Yeah,
a vote.
sorry, that's me.
Yeah,
No.
we already have it on the floor, we're just going to vote now. And, or if unanimous consent is requested.
unanimous request, or unanimous
Consent.
consent requested.
Any objections to unanimous consent? Nope. None.
Motion passes.
Beautiful, thank you. Director Best, can we have your report, please?
Yes. As I'm sure I've mentioned before, but every month, every department head will provide a mid-month report for the city council. Now, why we write these reports, you'll see sometimes they fall behind and we don't have them in for the commission meeting, hence September is in here. But for mid-month in September, I mentioned we co-host the Kenai River Marathon on the last Sunday of the month every year. We had over 200 racers from 16 states and 3 countries. Marking the second year, there've been over 200 racers, bringing attendance back to pre-COVID numbers. The Kenai Rec Center was getting its floors redone. In my report, you can see, so those pictures in there show, originally there was, I think, 3 different types of flooring in each picture. And now there's just one throughout our showers and throughout our facility. It looks really nice. We got an epoxy floor. It was all paid for through grant funding, so it was really great. Now we just got to work on replacing that tile, and we'll be doing great at the rec. We were closed for several weeks during that time. We were closed for about half of September, and we reopened on October 7th for our winter hours. which is Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. On Saturday, it's 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Sunday, it's 1 to 5. And then going on, and then I plug the Pumpkin Festival because that's a grand old time every year. And then I go over the rec center numbers. We were closed for the majority of the month, but overall we had about 1,669 visits. And then going on to October, we had our annual Fall Pumpkin Festival, possibly on the worst day to have it in October. It was raining sideways. We put up walls, but we normally have about 1,000 attendance. We probably had 500 to 600 people. And it just simmered down right before the event, because I can tell you we were out there at 8 finishing some setup. We had porta potties that blew over the day before. Nobody had used them. So they were down all night because they were just going to blow over. So there was no poop or pee on the streets. It was all good. We cleaned everything in the morning, and we're actually able to still use them and park a truck behind them too. It actually cracked me up. One of my friends sent me a picture of the porta potties when I was well aware they were down. We had cleaned where they were and we left them down. And I said, hey, the tents are still up. And I knew they were like, what are you talking about, the tents? Because the tents were in the background and they did very well. We were very happy with that. But that also being said, we were very mindful of the porta potties. They went down, they were unused. We cleaned them in the morning. We got everything cleaned up and they were actually able to get used for the event. And we still had a really fun day. Like there was probably, in this picture, I don't think the colors came out good. I thought there was a picture in the mid-October. I thought I did the winners, or maybe that's oh, it's on there? I might just be mixed up in my notes right now. Yep, I'm just mixed up in my packet as I'm writing down notes. My favorite was there's a pumpkin that has the cucumber eyes. I think that was my favorite. We had a Marine who volunteered at the event who was a judge, and then we had a community member who was a judge, and I was a judge. And I think that one was, I forget that pumpkin's name, they name them, but we had like over 75 entries in the No Carb Pumpkin Contest. The library helps with that. They hand out the pumpkins. And then it was still Vice Mayor Nexted. Right? Yeah, still Vice Mayor Naxted came by and dropped the pumpkin from the fire truck. He had a puddling pool and everyone got an ice cream cone to McDonald's. And then the 11th hour Home Depot signed up to come by. Them and Walmart kind of ran a tent. Walmart helped kids paint pumpkins that were there. We still had a hay maze. We changed the hay maze this year. It was the same hay maze for 3 years, so we really scared people with that. And then Home Depot brought crafts and they were like, this was great. A lot of people showed up for like 45 degrees and pouring rain. I know my wife came by at noon with my daughters and they did everything in about 12 and a half minutes because it wasn't busy yet. And she came in and was like, we're leaving now. But she's like, they had a blast. And again, we had Alaska Mermaid there without their mermaid, but they brought some yard games. Wolfpack Rugby came by and we're teaching kids how to play rugby. A Salvation Army came by and they did they always do fun crafts with the kids, and KBH Elementary provided face painting. The Glaze gave us a bunch of free donut holes. We weren't expecting, we gave out like 50 pounds of donut holes. That is not a real number, I'm just saying a lot. We did not weigh them. But we gave away a lot of free donut holes with hot chocolate and cider. So overall, it was a really fun event that turned out, again, it was the coldest one I've been to, but it was just a blast. So many people were laughing because I think you saw a lot of parents cold, but their kids were warm because everyone's taking care of their kids first and they're in their snowsuits and rain suits, just happy as can be, probably nice and toasty. And I know our food vendors always have fun. I think hot dogs a la carte was like, a lot of people still came for how bad the weather was. So again, that event is just a personal favorite. I think it's fun to see the pumpkins that show up to get there. And then how many parents I heard, no, we have to go. No, we have to go. And little kids going, I want to see the pumpkin get dropped. I want to see the pumpkin get dropped. and there were some really good splashes this year. It's just a blast of an event. And then that kind of marks the end of our summer season, and we start basically winterizing all of our mowers and getting our winter equipment out through a Parks and Rec standpoint. And then as soon as we get all that done, we try to get into some of the parks Leaf Hansen would be one of them, where we start trying to maybe like get some of the lights up that are more difficult to get up when it starts snowing. And then as soon as it snows, we start clearing walkways and we groom ski trails at the golf course and we plow a walking track at Municipal Park that we always just get countless good feedback on. People seem to really enjoy that there's like a safe place to walk off the road. I think if you walk all of it, it's only half a mile, but it's just somewhere you can go and not worry. The only vehicle you have to worry about is the Parks and Rec plow truck. So I think when we have a lot of blinky lights.
Comment, I thought it was awesome that Parks and Rec was doing a really good job advertising on Facebook. That's where I get a lot of my social event updates, so I think Parks and Rec did a really good job advertising in advance.
Okay, thank you. And we also utilized, we're doing radio ads now. Every so often we have a contract and we utilize that. We have so much in a contract, like I think we do our public meetings. That's another one we plug. And then, if you don't know Merrill, we always let Merrill know. No, KSRM and all the radio groups, they all have submit an event that we try to do too. That's always fun. And it seems like when we plug it into the city website, it's either Facebook so the city website has a calendar. Sometimes Google will grab that calendar, which is I've had people be like, oh, I saw it on the city website. I'm like, oh, because it can be hard to get to. And sometimes Google seems like it finds that calendar, which is nice.
I have to say, I'm on Facebook a lot more than I'm on the website.
Well, no, I was going to say through Google. Like for some reason, the algorithm, sometimes it seems like, I think we had a park commissioner. It's like, yeah, I Googled it and it came up and brought me to the city website. So yeah, we just need to get a TikTok now. I don't know how that works, but,
You can use the chambers.
oh, we can do a dance together.
I was about to say, only if you do dance.
So that is kind of my report that's one of those practices I want to continue doing is whenever we have a meeting. It's a report we prepare for council. Again, I kind of inherited the format. We usually try to touch base on the rec center, an event, our trails, our parks, kind of like 4 areas in that report as we can. It's not always the most consistent. It may get changed in the future, but it is a report we try to provide council to provide a snapshot of what's going on. And then to commissioners, if you guys are ever curious about what's going on in the city, it's the second council meeting when these are due in the month, and every director provides them. So you kind of get a snapshot of what's going on in public works, what's going on for police, what's going on for fire and planning. It kind of gives you a cool insight to what the city from the administration standpoint. So I know I've told newer directors that they've joined the team. This is a good way to see what's going on in other departments without just having a conversation. I think I got someone was asking about streetlights one day and I had read the mid-month report. I'm like, oh, this is what's going on with streetlights. And I said, you can find that information here. Please don't quote me on this, but it's also there. But it is a really cool way to find they're usually a one sheet and it gives you a good snapshot of what's going on. So really useful resource if you guys want to see, again, just get a snapshot of what's going on from different departments. So if you went into the council packet, which sometimes can be 80 pages, and you did Control F and typed in mid-month, you'd get, I don't know how many departments, I think there's 8 of us, but you'd get several department head memos with some pictures and yeah, a good rundown. So I'm a very big fan of the mid-month report. It's a cool way to find out what's going on.
Thank you, Tyler. Does that conclude your report?
Yes.
Wonderful. Let's see, since we last met, everything got cold and all my flowers died. So I traveled a whole bunch in October to warm places. I was happy to see the little library returned to Forest after many moons of being absent. So I guess it must have gotten a facelift or repaired or something.
Yeah, so we actually, one of the agreements we did with because those are installed, we helped install them, but with Friends of the Kenai Library did it. But what we kind of said was like, hey, if these get overly vandalized, we can't do the upkeep on them. So we may have to if one's getting beat, we're probably going to remove it. But they were like, nope, we'll do the upkeep on it. And that one had a couple tweaks. So it was actually the Friends group that removed it. And yeah. And then they just did some repairs on it over on that little pocket park, yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I figured as much, but I was missing it for a little while. If the city were to explore adding more little libraries, is that something we would contact the library, Friends of the Library about? Would that need to come from the city or from just anybody?
I think if you went to, so the Friends of the Library are a local nonprofit that work with the library. And they asked us to identify several locations we thought we'd be good at our parks. And we did so, but I know there's several community members that have them. And then there were several places they identified that weren't city property. So if you wanted more, you could definitely follow up with them and see if, they might be like, we're exploring more funding, or maybe they're like, the parks director didn't give us any more, or I don't know what but if you went to one of their meetings, that would be a good resource to go for. But I know they got little tokens, and if you go to the Little Free Library website, I can't think of her name, and I talk to her all the time, and I feel really bad about it. Eileen Bryson is the person that runs with that a lot. And she got it certified on their website. So you can go to the Little Free Library website. I'm saying this very nonchalant. I do not know the website's name. I'm assuming if you Google Little Free Library website, and it's on the National Registry, you can see them all around town, because there are several people who have them on their property.
We are looking at getting one at the Kenai Chamber as well. It is literally what you just said. It's about $300 to get one. You have to build it yourself for $300. Otherwise, they're like $1,000.
I might have one.
We will take it if you want to give it to us.
Or even though that would also be a great resource to check in with Eileen, because I think the KCHS shop to cut some of them, and they took the old newspaper stands and constructed them, since those were already weatherproof. So they wear pretty good.
Awesome. Well, I'm really looking forward to spring. No, I'm looking forward to seeing the winter displays and seeing everything going up. It is an exciting time of year for the holidays coming up. Really excited to see all the great things that Sam and the Chamber have planned for the upcoming Christmas. What is it called? Comes to Kenai. Christmas comes to Kenai. So yeah, I don't really have a whole lot else to report other than, yeah, looking great with all the plans. So thank you, Tyler. Councilmember Askin, would you like to provide a report?
Sure, thank you. So November 6th was our first meeting with our new chamber members. Member Savala Kasena is a new council member, not chamber member, sorry. And Deborah Sonart won re-election, and we elected to keep Henry Negstead as our vice mayor. And at our public meetings, we approved a contract for purchase of data center equipment in the building here. And we also, I had been working quite a bit with Tyler. He'd been keeping me in the loop on schedule of rate changes and stuff for the rec center. And they also added an amendment to establish an annual locker fee there and continue to provide free day use lockers. We approved a contract extension for employee health care, and we established the 2025 City Council regular meeting. And we also approved a lease for Crowley Fuels. They're doing a non-standard lease on the airport, at the airport. No, December 7th is going to be the first time in many years a land sale of Kenai property. And I think that's about it. I'm certainly available for questions.
Thank you, Councilmember Askin. Welcome to Beautification officially.
Thank you.
Wait to have you for a year or so. Are there any members of the public who would like to address us at this time? Seeing none. Any remote attendees that are requesting to speak?
There are none?
Okay. Our next official meeting is scheduled for January 14, 2025. Is there anyone planning to be absent or attending remotely?
Maybe for either. Just kind of depends on a few things when this baby comes.
I feel like we just had this meeting. I can't believe.
I know, we just did this, so you're doing it again? No, I'm just joking. When is your,
Early December, December 10th,
okay.
but probably remote.
Okay. Well, we'll formally request photos in advance. Thank you. Yes, I do willingly hold babies.
When are they renewing the commissioners' memberships or member status? They're
Tomorrow.
having the meeting in December.
Random, but don't we elect new?
It's on the agenda for tomorrow's assembly or city council meeting. Like I got my letter saying that I was getting renewed,
I think.
but it's tomorrow.
So we should know before January.
If we're keeping it?
Yes.
Oh, did you did your reapply your term with, okay.
They did send out, emails, yeah.
Appointed for like 3 years or something like that. Yeah, and everybody's different depending on when you were appointed, so.
Right, like I was a special session, so I had to reapply. So, yeah, I got reappointed for this one, or for,
Generally, council approves those through and it's not any issues. Okay. Yeah.
So they'll let me know if I'm,
Yeah, and if you have any more questions, the person to reach out to would be the city clerk.
Yeah.
okay.
You could reach out to Megan or Shelley on that.
Sorry. All right. So, Brittany, do you have any individual comments or questions you want to bring up? That was it?
Yes, that was it. Thank you.
Okay. Emily, how about you?
Yeah, I am hoping to be at the December lights display, or what, I'm sorry, that's what we're calling it, winter tour date. But I am due a week after, so we'll see. And apologize for when we took a bathroom break. I did not realize we needed to call for a recess. But now we know for the future, so thank you.
Yeah, I don't actually know the official protocol on that, but I'll ask, but since you left and then we didn't have a quorum. Yeah. Yeah. No.
I do not.
Do not have our student representative today. So, seeing no further business, we're adjourned.
You need to, yeah, is there not a gavel? There's a gavel, isn't there? Okay.